Yep, well, we're talking iPads again today, and I'm actually very excited for this because, as a lot of you guys know, my favorite Apple product is the 2018 iPad Pro, and my only complaint is that there's not enough Apple products more like it. So there's good news today, but there's also some bad news, and I will be speculating on it, whatever that means. And also, there's a sweet little I told you so for the end, so stay tuned for that. Let's begin. Alright, for those who are not going to watch the whole thing, the good news is the next generation 10.8-inch iPad Air 4 that I've alluded to in the past, thanks to some more recent leaks, is rumored to have a USB-C port, which is good because I am all about that Team USB-C. It supports my theory that the next generation iPad Air will basically be a slightly design-tweaked, refreshed version of the 2018 iPad Pro with some of the specs dumbed down. So, obviously, no A12X chip, no ProMotion, no stereo speakers, probably not a 4K camera, but it will still look like an iPad Pro. It will still have Face ID, it will have gesture control, and I think it will make a whole lot of sense for a whole lot of people, especially if it starts around $500. But that brings me to the bad news, because I know a lot of you guys were really excited for the next generation iPad mini we were hearing about, which is supposed to, for the first time, have a slightly larger display, an actual redesign, so no more home button. In fact, it'll be adopting a mini LED display, so basically imagine an iPad mini with an OLED display. That's what's rumored here. But the other thing that's rumored is a lightning port, which, man, if you watched the Tailosive Tech podcast, then you know me, Nick, Randy, we had this long debate about what ports are going to go on which iPads, and I was not happy to hear about this report because it means not USB-C on that iPad, which is a huge hurt towards compatibility. And before all of you Lightning defenders out there go, Lightning's actually not that bad. I'm fine with Lightning. It's more stable. I'm used to it. You know what this means on an iPad, right? Okay, this means Apple Pencil 1 for another stretch of updates, easily another 2 to 3 years of us having to use that stupid moronic charge method where you have to plug the Apple Pencil into the charge port of the iPad. Ugh. God, I don't want that to happen, but it kind of has to. It's kind of a tricky section because the iPad mini is so dang small that they can't really use the Apple Pencil 2 we've been using on the iPad Pros because it would essentially take up the entire length of the iPad, and the whole point of the iPad mini is you can hold it with one hand. So if you had an Apple Pencil on one side, it would be a lot harder to hold. It would fall off. And if they adopt USB-C but don't adopt the Apple Pencil 2, inductive charging method, then how does Apple Pencil support work, right? They're not removing it. They have it on the iPad mini 5. So my suggestion was maybe making a version of Apple Pencil 1, but it has USB-C on the end that you can still plug in. Not the great solution, but I think what I would like better even is an Apple Pencil 2 Golf edition. Just take this pencil, shrink it down so it's smaller, and can still inductively charge on the side of the iPad mini. It just won't take up as much space as this one. And if you're worried about battery life, just remember that everyone who has one of these things, they're always charging if they're attached to the iPad, so they're almost always at 100%. So I think we can take a cut in battery life for an inductive charging method. But nope, screw my idea, right? Who cares what Drew thinks, because we gotta go with Lightning into 2021, which also does not speak well for Apple hopefully adopting USB-C on the iPhone 12s or iPhone 13. I know there's rumors suggesting that's never going to happen, but I still was holding out a little bit of hope, but this does not support that idea. At least it will have Face ID. I'll be grateful for that, but yeah, it also makes me very curious to know more about the design of this iPad mini, because beforehand, I was expecting them basically just to take the iPad Pro design, which I love by the way, shrink it down to the iPad mini form factor and call it a day, because I think everyone would be happy with that. But now, if it's still rocking a Lightning port, it probably doesn't even need the squared off edge design. Maybe they will give it the squared off look just so it can match with the iPhone 12 lineup a little bit better, but maybe for the sake of making it more affordable and trying to make it, the obtainable iPad, they might keep this one in the rounded off classic iPad mini design and just change the display on the front. Give it mini LED, give it the bezel-less treatment so you can have gestures and Face ID and use Face ID in any orientation. Yeah, they'll do all that, but the back will still be rounded off, and I don't know, maybe some of you guys like the rounded off design. I was just definitely getting excited about an iPad Pro mini of sorts, but this does not support that idea. But at the end of the day, I am grateful that the iPad Air 4 should be getting a USB-C port, because I think people misunderstand why so many of us are okay with USB-C, because it's not that it does a bunch of things that Lightning can't. In fact, data, video, power, audio, all things that you can do with Lightning can be done with USB-C. It's not really like like you enable a bunch more features when you add that port. The whole reason they added the USB-C port to the iPad is compatibility. The fact that so many of our accessories we use for our MacBooks and our adapters and our cameras already have USB-C support, so it just saves us an adapter, it saves us an extra cable if you adopt that on the iPad hardware itself. Again, it's not about adding a port that can do more than Lightning, it's just about being more compatible with all the accessories we're using our iPads with. So knowing that there's going to be like a $500 iPad Air that has USB-C makes me happy, but also knowing that they want to keep Lightning around for those smaller, more compact mobile devices like the iPad mini, even if it's getting mini LED in this great display and it'll have an updated design, but they're still sticking with Lightning. Just makes me feel like Apple's dwelling in the past a little too much, because my hope was that 2020 could be the year Apple kind of starts moving away from all the Lightning stuff and move more towards the one last final port. But now it sounds like they just want to keep it around as long as they can and as long as they absolutely need to, because we still got it on our Mac accessories, we still got it on iPads, we still got it on AirPods. We're gonna be getting it on our iPhones this year, so I just gotta accept the facts. But the nice little I told you so though is we are hearing reports about the next generation iPad Pro, and it turns out, I very rarely get to say this, so I'm gonna savor it. At least according to the most recent leaks, because I recall several months ago everyone saying that there were 2 new generations of iPad Pro coming up. One was coming out this year, and it was going to look basically the same as our current iPad Pros, except it would have 5G support and an A14X chip. And then after that, 6 months to a year later, there would be another iPad Pro that would have a mini LED display. So there were 2 generations of iPad Pros being leaked, and I said multiple times that I think those leaks are getting confused the same product, and that they would not update the iPad Pro again this year. They would wait until 2021, and then they would drop an iPad Pro with all that stuff. Mini LED, 5G, A14X chip. Most recent reports are saying that's what's going to happen. 2021, that's when the next big iPad Pro refresh is, which makes sense because Apple's been fairly consistent with how often they update the iPad Pros. It's not every 12 months, it's not every 6 months, it's always been every year and a half. So given we got the 2020 iPad Pro in March of this year, we should get the 2021 iPad Pro probably summertime of next year, and it will have the gorgeous new mini LED display, kind of OLED quality without the burn-in, and of course it will have 5G, if you care about that, good for you, and of course the extremely fast A14X chip. And no, it will still not have the weather or calculator app, so is it really that powerful at the end of the day? But hopefully A14X will enable for much better performance when editing in Final Cut, Logic, and Xcode, which are supposed to come to the iPad Pros later. So absolutely looking forward to that. Let me know which iPads you're most looking forward to by hitting me up over on Twitter. Join my Discord. We chat more about there. Apple Sheep here. See you next one. Why say many word when few word do trick?